Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. My intention is unity, oneness, the highest levels of love light, unity consciousness, sovereignty, all of that good stuff. My intention with this video is just a little bit about what I'm feeling right now. I have recorded a few videos that I haven't posted yet, but I wanted to pop on and do this one because I feel like it's relevant to what I'm experiencing right now. And I'm going to talk a little bit about physical upgrades and tie it in with my experiences. And part of when I started this channel, if you're watching this on YouTube, my YouTube channel, I started like a year ago, approximately. Seems like it's so much longer. And I've completely, over the last year, morphed. I've gone through this process and I'm continually feeling like I'm growing and learning more about myself, the world around me, and the environment. And really manifesting in the physical a lot of what I was experiencing or seeing in dream time, which maybe I'll get to that in a little bit. Yesterday, there were some really strong physical upgrades for me. And a year ago, I had very strong, what I would have referred to then as ascension symptoms. At the time, when I went through these, nobody I knew, nor had anybody really been talking about it that I was exposed to. I'm sure there were many teachers out there discussing it. But I became really sick. And I want to back up. I had come to a point in my awareness that I wanted to move up, out, expand. I wanted to just break on through to the other side. And I asked for it. So I'm sharing this because a lot of us have asked for it. And then when we get it, we're like, ooh, this isn't exactly what I asked for. Well, it is what we asked for. We just may not have expected it to come in the same way, to come in the same form. So I was like, bring it on. I'm ready. And boy, did it get brought. I ended up going to the hospital at one point. I'm just being candid right now and just sharing my experience with you guys because everybody's at a different place. You may never experience the severity. As I look back on it, it's not severe, but at the time I thought it was because I'd never experienced anything like it. I was seeing things. I was spinning. I felt like the floor was dropping out from underneath me all the time. My heart I would have heart palpitations. I would have flashes behind my eyes. I was hearing snap, crackle, pops, like pow, pow. Literally in my skull. I would hear it in my ears. I would lose track of time to the point where I thought something is neurologically possibly wrong with me. So I did my due diligence and I went to the neurologist and I went to the hospital and so on and so forth. And time again was shown there's nothing wrong with you except the assumption that I must have been highly stressed out. And for myself, my explanation was, I'm not stressed. These things are happening to me. My physical symptoms are creating stress. And now I'm asking for help and no one can tell me what's wrong, which became a story for me. And I would get up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I would journal. I'm sharing this with you guys because I have a feeling there are people that are experiencing some pretty crazy things right now. And the reason I started this was because I thought I can't be the only one going through this. And I was also guided to share it with everybody, to share my experience and my journey of expression and growth, which is now morphed into so much. So I'm encouraging and inviting those of you who may be experiencing any symptoms at all, write it down. But I also recognize that it became part of my story. I was that person, you know, where I was always sick, or I was having this ongoing, it was a little bit of woe is me victim, because no one could tell me what was going on with me. Because ultimately I was the one that was supposed to recognize what was going on with me by doing my due diligence, by expanding and searching and reading books and finding teachers out there to assist me to understand what was happening. Now here it is a year later, and I'm sharing this with you because I've been there and I've gone through a lot of things in my life in addition to that I understand now was purposeful, full of purpose, and it was uncomfortable. Now, fast forward, here we are. Some of us may have gone through those back in 2012. Some of us may have never gone through those experiences, and you may never go through the types of physical discomfort that I or others have experienced, and it doesn't matter. Part of what I say is that you don't have to. It may not be something. My husband isn't experiencing any of that. He's just grounded, just who he is. So he, of course, also isn't doing videos and sharing with others what it might look like to experience these things. I share this because as we journal, as we talk about it, but don't make it part of our story, right? We then can recognize that other people are going through this too. We aren't alone in this. Other people are starting to speak light language. Other people are starting to do hand movements and flow and movements. I started doing yoga, and my yoga years ago would morph into some type of dance that I had never in this particular lifetime learned. It just was, we'll say, it woke up within me, right? I remembered things. And so yesterday, fast forward to now, had some moments of discomfort where my whole left side went numb. Oh, ringing in the ears. I'm not going into all of the ascension symptoms, by the way, guys. I don't see them as symptoms. I see them as upgrades. I see them as communication. I see them as portals. I see it as information flow. I see it as adjustments being made. Because back, then it was a symptom in the concept that something was wrong. Nothing is wrong. This is not wrong. Our body isn't, yes, from one perspective, we could say our body is dense and it's being lifted out of the density or integrating and dissolving some of those densities. And while a year ago that to me was true, I also feel that now that is only a very small tidbit of the truth. It's really just part of our process and journey for some of us. It doesn't mean we have to associate judgment, aka around the word density. Sometimes we feel like, well, I must be holding on to so much density, karma, whatever it might be, that I have to go through this particular upgrade. Why I'm sharing this is we're being invited to recognize that then that becomes a judgment, and that becomes a story about why we're experiencing what we're experiencing, that we then associate with us, which then can create more density. So time and time again, I've been invited to not judge the space that I'm in, or recognize and acknowledge if I am judging the space that I'm in, and honor that. So I had that numbness in my left side of my body, tingling in my fingertips, and it was very strong. And I had remnants of what I will only describe as fear, because there's that feeling when I just was taken a little off guard. I was in the middle of cooking breakfast for my husband and myself, and I'm cooking, and this just kind of happened. And it was overwhelming in a moment, and I became a little, what is that? Am I having something going on with my heart? Because I associate it with, and you guys will know this for those of you who've gone onto the internet to look up the symptoms that you're having, and all of a sudden it's like, well, it's because you have neurological disorders, you have sleep, disorder, there is OCD, perhaps it's all these labels that assist us in putting into a category and making everything fit into this neat box, right? So I recognized that that was what I was thinking of, like, ooh, this could be heart. And then I thought, well, of course it's heart. We're going through upgrades. We're having heart upgrades. And it felt uncomfortable because it didn't feel normal, right? Normal. And it felt, it put me in a different place, a little off balance, literally. I was dizzy. And so I told my husband, I may have to just lay down for a minute and just process, right? I went and drank a huge glass of water. I stopped cooking and just kind of sat down for a moment and regrouped. I had the immediate desire to go outside and put my feet on the dirt or the grass and get in the sun. And I knew that that would somehow make me feel a little bit better, and it did. Now, a lot of things I just described, I'm sharing with you guys because these are all the things that I did, that I've taught others now who are experiencing similar symptoms. I sat outside barefoot, I got grounded, I drank a bunch of water, I also took some cell salts. I think they're called bioplasma cell salts. I take them every day almost, and I can't judge to where it's helping or not, but I feel like it might be beneficial for me. I've also been eating a little bit more, and this is just me personally. If you can't have a lot of salt, because I've been adding a little bit more salt to my diet, pink Himalayan salt, then don't do that. You do what you know you need to do, because it is different for everybody. For some people, it's a certain food that they might need to add to their diet because they need more iron or whatever it might be. So I experienced all of this, and I recognized fear, judgment, and anxiety, but it passed very quickly. I had all of those things within maybe 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. And I remembered back to a year ago when I'd had all these things happen, and this was ongoing. I think for about 6 months, I was in a complete and constant state of fear because I didn't understand what was going on with me. And it felt so foreign. And now I can look back on it and recognize that this was just part of my body upgrading and processing and us making adjustments to our new earth, so to speak. We can also be responding to changes that are going on in the earth or in the atmosphere, right, around us. A friend of mine, Megan, who I have become friends with through my dear sister, Candace and Kate, talked about she went through some of these on the left side of her body. And my friend Liz, who's part of this group as well, and Saskia have been talking about brain upgrades and something she felt in her pelvis. And so I share this because my friend Megan, back to her story, had been experiencing it on the left side of her body, and then one week she was experiencing all this crazy stuff on the right side of her body. And she interpreted it as divine masculine and divine feminine, and I love that. And this helped me yesterday get through my experience. And then my friend Jess from Yothera, who I've met through sessions, who we are starting to find our soul group, right? People that are part of our network that are assisting us in growing and expanding and having fun and co-creating. I had mentioned to her, or maybe we had discussed, that I was having the flashes behind my eyes, And this was about a month ago or so, and now she's experiencing those. Jess, I hope you don't mind I shared that with the collective. I know you won't mind at all. And she had said, oh, that's right, Carrie went through this, now I'm going through it. And I want to talk a little bit about that as well, because I've talked about this in previous videos, that sometimes judgment about these experiences can be that something's wrong with us, or and that's one form of it. But another judgment can be, well, this person's going through this, how come I'm not? Right? Like, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me because I'm not experiencing these things. Also, this idea or concept that, oops, my microphone, that this person is advancing faster than us because they're going through brain upgrades and we're not experiencing any of that. I'm using this as an example because I've actually been there. I have judged myself based on other people's processes. Even back in 2012, when major things started shifting for me, I would say 2009, I was starting to really have a lot of awakenings. But 2012, of course, 2011 was when a lot of the shifts happened for me. I found myself judging because now I was reading books then that were published from like 1996. And I'm like, well, how come I didn't see this back in 1996? Guys, there is no pecking order. There is no, well, it happens in this particular order. We're all on our own journey, and it's going to happen at different times for us. It may not happen in the same way at all. And I can just share that's something for us to recognize. Am I judging where I'm at based on where somebody else is? It can be sometimes helpful to, if we're off track, and we know we're off track, or we're inspired by where somebody is at. If somebody is getting really creative and they're doing a lot of painting, and we know that's in us, or we don't know that it's in us, but we'd like to explore it, these are all signs and in synchronicities to guide us to what it is that we could be exploring about ourselves. Because if someone else can do it and we feel inspired by it, especially if it's someone that we recognize as part of our soul group, that can be a really good opportunity for us to try it, to go and paint, to go and do a workshop, to go and take a dance class so that we could just learn to move, maybe become a yoga teacher, just to see what happens. Because oftentimes it isn't about painting, it's the journey, right? I always talk about in yoga, it isn't about the pose. It's the process of getting into the pose, because that is the journey. And being on the yoga mat represents life, right? That's the box that we're creating our movement in. So there is no right or wrong. And that's really important, I think, for a lot of us right now to recognize. Not every day is going to be bliss, although it can be that way more frequently if we allow it. And some people are going through that really deep processing. I don't even want to label it as dark anymore, because the divine mother that I have seen and some of my sisters have seen in meditation is in the womb, and the womb is dark. It's that void where things come out of existence or into form. And it's that light and dark mixing and commingling with each other in creation. So it's really depth, right? Sometimes we're going really deep into the recesses or the catacombs, right? The skeletons in the closet are starting to bubble up and make themselves known. And I'm gonna lead into that a little bit. So I just wanted to, before I continue with that, I brought up my friends because their experiences reminded me, oh yeah, my friend mentioned she was going through that or seeing this, and it becomes a shared dream. right? Almost with those that we are connected to. Okay, I guess I wanted to really primarily talk about that. The skeletons in the closet and the catacombs. I've had a lot come up in dream time. I want to talk a little bit about I'm just starting to share more of my journey in these videos because I really haven't talked a lot about it. And why not, right? It isn't necessarily, again, a story that I like to dip into. It's more pieces of my journey that have brought me to where I am. And looking back at when I was judging my symptoms and what I was going through, and again, upgrades, not symptoms, right? It's now I see that it's given me the ability to process and to assist others on their journey and in their processing, if that's something that we're guided to interact with together. And I'm guided to assist anybody who is open on their journey. I had a dream last night, so I guess I'll do the dream share in perhaps another video. What I wanted to share is that we've been upgraded. If we choose to see it from that perspective. I was shown a grocery store that was all shiny and white, but it wasn't permanent. And I could buy new products, I could buy old products in this grocery store. And I had a whole group of people shopping with me that were from my network of friends that have been my friends for a very long time. And basically they've come with me. They're in this grocery store too, but they're filling their cart with their own groceries and their own supplies, but they're filling it from the same supply source, right, that I'm filling my cart from. I also was shown purple umbrellas and rainbow umbrellas. I had a rainbow umbrella, and there was a whole shelf of people that had put their purple umbrellas on this shelf. And I temporarily did, while I was working with some digital work, and I had to find my purple umbrella amongst everybody else's purple umbrella. But I also recognize, so purple has been a huge theme, by the way, guys. The violet flame, my friend Liz Franco is doing a violet flame challenge. So if you want to check her out on